Hello, brothers and sisters. Hey, thanks for joining me. The story popped up in my feed today, and it's right up my alley. So let's look at what the Daily Mail has to say. And I think today is the third, but this was published on the second, so just yesterday. Nervy bond market spike as PM hires high tax fanatics. Threat of ID cards for all. Hard left Rayner's ambition is the talk of Westminster. And armed police arrest Father Ted Ryder for tweets, leaving millions asking, when did Britain become North Korea? Okay, I've got to read this. There's a lot to unpack in this. Nervy bond market spike because of high tax fanatic. I thought in Britain the taxes were already really high, higher than in the U.S. I'm pretty sure. Threat of ID cards for all. Ooh, I got to read about that. I'm interested in ID cards because I think everyone should have an ID card in order to vote. So, okay, the threat of ID cards might be okay. Let's see what it's all about. I don't know. I haven't read this article. Rayner's ambition is the talk of Westminster. The deputy prime minister, who's going to be the next PM under Labour, allegedly, maybe. And the greatest bit is you can't make this stuff up. I did a story this yesterday. 5 armed officers arrested the creator of Father Ted, a middle-aged comedy guy who's won a BAFTA. It's crazy. All right, let's get into it. Britain is now North Korea. Okay, that might now be my new favorite thing. Police were accused of totalitarian clampdown on free speech after creator of Father Ted was arrested by armed officers over online comments about transgender activists. Fury erupted at the Metropolitan Police's treatment of TV writer Graham Linehan, who told how he was dealt with like a terrorist, held in a cell and had to be rushed to hospital because of the stress nearly killed me. He was arrested at Heathrow by 5 armed officers as he returned to Britain and accused of inciting violence in relation to 3 posts he had made on social media network Twitter or X while living in the U.S. Oh, so he was actually in the U.S. while he did it. That's good. That's interesting, including what he says was a joke about urging women to punch transgender women if they use female-only spaces. Yeah, he said you should punch him in the balls if make a fuss, call police, punch him in the balls if you have to, because biological men should not be in women's spaces. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he says. And that's an opinion that is fairly mainstream in America. I think that's like a 70-30 or 80-20 kind of issue, that women should not have to deal with men in private spaces that are meant for women. But what kills me is the 5 police officers. They got 5 police officers armed even, and at the same time they're arresting people for saying we love bacon in front of a mosque. And so it's really the offense police now. It's not really the Metropolitan Police. It's the offense police. Any Karen can pretty much say, oh, I'm offended. Let's go arrest this person. And it looks like they do. Who's catching the real baddies? I did a story about knife crime in UK yesterday. Are we catching people that are stabbing people, or are we just take gardener's hose off them when they're walking along down the street with their basket from their allotment? Policing in the UK is a joke right now, and it's because of the soft on crime policies of the liberal governments and two-tier justice, 100%. And the laws are so vague that the police can nick you for anything and then let the courts sort it out. Next thing you know, you're Lucy Conley in jail for 31 months. It's crazy. It came on a day when UK borrowing costs spiraled to a 27-year high, and the pound sank on Tuesday after an influx tax fanatics into number 10. Sir Keir Starmer raised the prospect in cabinet of everyone in Britain being forced to get a digital ID card to tackle illegal working. No, I'm not liking the sound of this again. Don't we all have to have a national insurance number already to work? All right, I need to read more about that. This is something I don't know anything about, so we'll see what the story says about it. Hopefully it's fair, because I'm not aware of that. His hard Left deputy Angela Rayner, yeah, broke cover in Downing Street as speculation mounted over her leadership ambitions. Yeah, I've been seeing stories that Starmer looks like he's on the ropes. People are really not happy with him. And if he gets the boot, Rayner might take over as the Labour PM. But honestly, we need a new general election if it comes to that. And I say I do not live in the UK, so I know I don't get a vote. I don't have residency, but I am a British citizen. So if I ever went back and got a flat, I could vote. But today, it's true. I live in Texas. On Tuesday night, Irish comedy writer Mr. Linehan, who said he was bailed on condition he did not use Twitter X, told the Daily Mail. Yeah, so there we go. And so they've censored his speech as well. I did a story on this yesterday. So I believe everything he said should be covered under free speech. All he did was express an opinion that I think is fair to have, that biological men should not be in women's spaces. And if they are, it's okay to punch them in the balls. I don't think that's criminal. It's not nice to say we should punch people in the balls, but I don't think that rises to the level of incitement. And for him to even be arrested is wrong. And people will say, oh, but he's going to get his day in court and he'll be released and all that. If not, but he still had to go through bail. He still had the stress and had to go to the hospital because of high blood pressure, of being arrested. He's got the notoriety. That might not be a bad thing, of being arrested. I heard Piers Morgan was talking about it and J.K. Rowling was talking about it. But now he's got to go through all this trouble. And so most people don't want to go through all this trouble. So this is really just another form of censorship by the government, because if you have the threat of arrest, you're going to self-censor. So yeah, it is North Korea. After spending a decade obsessing over their score on the Stonewall Virtue Index, the police can no longer tell up from down, left from right, and most wrongly of all, right from wrong. Yeah, the Karens are running the police, 100%. So here he is, Mr. Linehan. I'd never really heard of him before. Police were accused of a totalitarian clampdown on free speech after Graham Linehan, pictured the creator of Father Ted, was arrested by armed officers, 5 of them. Didn't they have some real criminals to catch? I know I've beaten that drum hard, but it's just crazy to me. Over online comments about transgender activists, 2 police I think would have been sufficient to pick him up at the airport. Maybe even 1. I don't think he's much of a threat to a police officer. Well, maybe to a little female police officer, but I probably shouldn't get into that. Irish comedy writer Mr. Linehan told Daily Mail, after spending a decade over their score on the Stonewall Virtue Index, I don't even know what that is. I guess it's related to the Stonewall riots when the police were kind of rough on gay folk. The police can no longer tell up from down, left from right, and most worryingly of all, right from wrong. Then we've got a picture here. All right, Daily Mail. When did Britain become North Korea? Nice. Another day in Starmer's socialist utopia. Nice. Fury erupted after the treatment of Graham Linehan, who was dealt like a terrorist cell. J.K. Rowling, what the... I think she said F. Has the UK become... This is totalitarianism. Utterly deplorable. I cannot disagree. Here's a picture of the writer. He landed in Heathrow. He was met by 5 armed police officers, immediately arrested. This is from the Free Speech Union. His crime, 3 gender-critical tweets. Looks like he had an IV in. Yeah, they said he said he was treated for high blood pressure. He said his blood pressure was over 200 and he was feeling unwell. So the police took him before they charged him, I guess. Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling led a chorus of outrage over his ordeal and called Mr. Linehan's arrest an act of totalitarianism. Oh, Nigel is in on this. He might be our next prime minister here in 4 or 5 years, the way reform's going. And don't get me wrong, jokes aside, I don't think Nigel would be a very good prime minister. But if Labour keeps up this totalitarian nonsense, this is where we lead. It leads to Trump or someone like Trump or worse than Trump. So I think Nigel's like Trump light. So let's see what Nigel has to say about this.
To be met by 5 armed officers as if he was some sort of international terrorist for literally putting jokey comments out about trans activists who played his life for years shows you what the problem is. I'm going to be testifying, Sean, tomorrow in front of the House Judiciary Committee on another case. Lucy Connolly.
Oh.
You guys have got the First Amendment. Let me urge you, be vigilant about defending your rights. Do not go down the path that we have.
There you have it. We've heard it from Nigel. I agree with everything he said, and I'm a very staunch supporter of all rights. I do not want us losing any of our rights because it's a slippery slope. Once you lose one, you lose another and another and another. And before you know it, you don't even know what you've lost. I talk to people over in Britain all the time, and things that are just normal rights in America, they take for granted that you just can't do that. And they don't believe you should be able to do that. Like I've had people tell me, yes, people should be arrested for offensive speech. No, they shouldn't. That's crazy talk. So many rights have been taken away in the UK that we don't even know what freedom really looks like anymore. I saw an old guy saying something to that effect on TikTok, and that the UK should become the 51st state in America. And I'm all for it. Let's do it. Trump wants to add Greenland and Canada. And let's do the UK too. I'd be all for that. Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling led a chorus of outrage over his ordeal, asking online, "What the F has the UK become? This is totalitarianism, utterly deplorable." World's richest man, Elon Musk, branded Britain a police state and asked, "Why are police in Britain arresting citizens for social media posts instead of child rape?" I think that's a good question. I think it's a travesty that it appears that labor governments around the country, labor councils especially, have chosen not to investigate seriously these rape gang allegations by young, mostly Pakistani men. It's not racist to investigate and throw criminals in jail. And if they're rapists and child groomers, sexual assaulters, they should be thrown in jail. I don't care if it's part of their religion or part of their community where they're from. If they want to do that, they should go back to where they're from. If they want to come to Britain, they want to come to America, they need to assimilate with our cultures and values. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. And I don't care where you're from. I feel that way. To me, this is not a racial or even a religious issue. This is how we behave in the UK, and this is how we behave in the US. These are the laws on the books. And so unless you can get the laws changed, which appears with two-tier justice that they're working hard on, then you need to go back to your country. Do you really want to live in a country where pedophiles are okay? I don't. Free speech campaigner and former police officer Harry Miller, who won a landmark court case against a force that investigated him allegedly transphobic tweets, told Daily Mail, "This is the sort of behavior you expect in North Korea, not from the British police force." Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, I'm going to have to watch what Nigel says to Congress tomorrow. I'm going to be very interested. Nigel might be moving up in my book in a positive way. Britons are in danger of being subjected to interference by a police state. Downing Street declined to comment on the ongoing case, which risks reviving damaging claims by U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance that free speech is being eroded in Britain. However, Sir Keir Starmer's spokesman said the Prime Minister's priorities for the police were tackling street crime and serious violence in what will be seen as a veiled swipe at the Met. On the specific incident, it's an operational matter for the police, but Prime Minister and Home Secretary have been clear where their priorities for crime and policing are, and that tackling antisocial behavior, shoplifting, street crime, as well as reducing serious violent crimes with knife crime and violence against women, number 10 told reporters. Notice the first thing he said was tackling antisocial behavior. So his highest priority is going after mean tweets still. That's what I just read. Or people that are out in the street saying offensive things like "we love bacon" to Muslims. You get your priorities wrong, Starmer. Get in there and get the violent crime first. There should not be 5 officers going after tweets. There should not be raids at like 5 o'clock in the morning for cancer patients because they put some mean tweets about migrants out there going home, or they didn't like migrant flags. We're arresting grannies for being at a protest for the Palestine Action Group. It is complete and utter nonsense. The police are really coming down on just regular, normal, law abiding citizens in the UK who just have strong opinions on a subject that the government doesn't like. That's what I see. And everyone's afraid of being called a racist. So because of that, the Karens have managed to take over everything. And we're not doing proper policing. Catch the carjackers. Catch the grooming gangs that are out chasing little girls in the park at 16 or 12 or whatever. And so they feel like they've got to pull out a hatchet and a knife. And I've done a couple stories on that already, on the Braveheart 2 story. So that one's controversial, I know. But it just goes to show you, people feel like they need to carry weapons. There's something wrong in Britain. The police are not doing their job. And this is a vast generalization. I'm generally a supporter of the police, but Starmer and police, your priorities are wrong. Lord Young, director of Free Speech Union, which is supporting Mr. Linehan, told the Daily Mail, I don't think there's a better illustration of just how low we've sunk when it comes to free speech. Yeah, I go back to the UK every 3 or so years to see the family. And now I need to probably contact the solicitor after this video and have him on speed dial, because when I land, I might be arrested. I've said all kinds of crazy crap that I'm sure it won't go over well with the Starmer government. J.K. Rowling, we already talked about her. We already talked about Elon Musk. Oh, Neil O'Brien, Britain's now a total laughingstock, a country where we arrest authors of light comedies and interrogate them about their tweets. It would be laughable if it wasn't so serious. What happened to Glinner today is absolutely ridiculous. 5 armed cops arresting him at Heathrow for tweets mocking the scandal of biological men invading women's spaces. When it comes to free speech, Britain's turning into North Korea. Piers Morgan. So we can expect to hear more about this on the Piers Morgan show. I might have to go watch him. There might be some good content there. And then Rick Jenrick, I don't know who that is. This is ridiculous and a complete waste of police time. The police only respond to 1 in 5 reported shoplifting offenses, but deployed 5 armed officers to arrest the comedian over 3 tweets. We desperately need to end this nonsense and go after actual criminals. Yeah, like a month ago, I did 2 stories on shoplifters. There were 2 out there where there was a man, I think he was in Wales, and he was told he needed to take down a sign because it might cause offense, as it called shoplifters scumbags. So what? Shoplifters are going to be offended by being called scumbags? And even so, you can't say shoplifters are scumbags in your own shop? You don't like it? Don't go into his shop. You know what? That's even better if you're a shoplifter. And then the other one, people were told, and I don't know where this was, but I did a story on it, again, a few weeks ago, that you could no longer put up signs with the pictures of shoplifters in your shop because that might break privacy regulations, and we had to protect their privacy. That's complete BS. We don't need to be protecting privacy of criminals, and shoplifters are criminals. What about the rights of the shopkeeper? Britain, what are you doing? Again, the Karens are running the country. Here's a video. Moment he is arrested by armed police. Oh, we're going to have to watch this. I haven't seen this yet. So let's see him get arrested. That's going to be good.
You're under arrest. Holy I'm under arrest. Do you know what this country looks like to America? Do you know what it looks like to America? No, just put me under arrest. Everywhere I'm going to put me. I'm going to sue you into the ground. I'm going to sue you into the ground. I'm going to sue you into the ground. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you all. I dare you.
All right, so it looks like when the police arrested him, he had his phone on record. And so we got the audio. I'm going to sue you into the ground. I don't know in Britain, tell me if I'm wrong, but I would expect you can't actually sue individual police officers unless they do something that breaks the law themselves or breaks regulations. But you could sue the force and say this was an unlawful arrest. I don't know. I think you might have a good chance of winning that. So I hope he does sue them. This guy's got enough of a platform because he's a minor celebrity. This is going to be a huge thing. I feel sorry for the man for having to go through this, but it's actually good for the UK that this happened, because this shows the general public just how heavy-handed the police. I think 80% of people would not feel it was right to arrest him over this. But I could be wrong. Tell me in the comments if you think it was quite right that he was arrested and that people should be, in general, arrested for offensive speech. They do arrest people for offensive speech in Germany, for sure. That is not legal in Germany. But I thought the UK was better than that. But again, tell me if I'm wrong. I live in Texas. I only visit the UK, so I'm not completely in tune, right? If Graham Linehan himself had written this scene for a sitcom about the descent of Starmer's Britain into an authoritarian banana republic, his editor would have rejected it as too implausible. Oh no, he needs to do this. Rowan Atkinson's done a few that are kind of like this. No, he should write this up, and this should definitely be a skit on something. The overzealous policing of social media posts is turning the UK into an international laughingstock. Jack and Victor should do this story. I'd love to see this on Still Game. Only problem is Jack and Victor wouldn't know what to do with a computer, I don't think. His campaign group has hired Mr. Linehan, a solicitor, to defend him against any possible charges, but it's looking into whether police could be sued for wrongful arrest or false imprisonment. Lord Young said there is zero chance of Mr. Linehan being prosecuted for an offense under the Public Order Act that he was arrested for, as it only covers stirring up hatred on grounds of religion or sexual orientation, not gender identity. So see, the police or the judges, whoever it was that authorized this arrest, don't actually understand the law. It's crazy. Or they're just trying to suppress speech. So we're just going to arrest everybody. We know it's not illegal, but this will get them to stop being naughty boys. He wrote online, Sir Mark Rowley should make it clear no further action will be taken and issue an apology and offer Glyndor substantial compensation for false arrest and wrongful imprisonment. So I think Mark Rowley's the head of the Met, if I remember right. I think he's the one who wants to arrest Americans like me for saying mean things that he doesn't like, that the British government doesn't like. The Tories accused Scotland Yard of an absurd infringement of free speech as the backlash intensified, and said whoever approved the arrest should be held to account. Yes, absolutely. I'd like it made public who ordered the arrest and then shame them. Like, what were you thinking? Let's hear your rationale. I'd like to hear it. On Tuesday night, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch said sending 5 officers to arrest men for a tweet isn't policing, it's politics. Yep, I actually agree with her. Under Labour, we routinely see burglary, knife crime, and assaults go unsolved, while resources are wasted on thought policing. 100% agree, Kemi, you're spot on. It's time this government told the police their job is to protect the public, not monitor social media for hurty words. Fully agree with you, Kemi. I don't think your numbers are good, so I doubt that you're going to be the next prime minister, but I'm thinking it might be Nigel, but looks like everyone except the government in power right now in politics in the UK is kind of upset by the things Labour is doing, which is no surprise because that's the same in America. Trump can't do anything, even good things, like even lowering crime in Washington, D.C. is bad to the majority of Democrats. Now, the mayor has actually come out and said she appreciates his help and appreciates the lowering of crime. And Trump thanked her for that. So there are some sensible liberals out there who just want better things for the country. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Phillips called the arrest an absurd infringement of speech. Yep. The Conservatives would stop this nonsense on day one and make public safety the first duty of policing instead of pandering to fringe ideologies. Good. Senior Tory MPs question the need for 5 officers to make the arrest. That's what kills me. 5 armed officers to get a comedian on an airplane. What, did he smuggle a gun on the airplane? Really? What danger was this guy going to be? Just arresting him almost killed him because of his blood pressure. Senior Tory MPs question the need for 5 officers to make the arrest, given the shortage of armed police nationwide, with Laura Trott urging, it must be made clear who made this decision and they should be held accountable. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Phillips said, this strikes me as absurd. Infringement on free speech. The police should focus on real criminals. And Shadow Justice Secretary said the Met needs to promptly apologize. Every day, the delay will add the bill to the taxpayer faces for their incompetence. Yeah, because I think him suing them, the bill ought to go up the longer this goes. Plus, people are not happy with this kind of behavior. The row will reach Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, that's today, as Nigel Farage gives evidence to the U.S. House Committee on the Judiciary on Europe's threat to American speech and innovation. Well, see, they will definitely be talking about this because if the man made the tweets on X, which is an American platform, and he did it while he was in the U.S., if he made those tweets in the U.S., then it does actually impact America. And so it'll be interesting to see what Nigel Farage has to say about it. Reform UK leader Mr. Farage said the Graham Linehan case is another example of the war on free speech in the UK. I will discuss this, the Lucy Conley case, and increasing role of police in non-crime hate incidents. Yeah, Lucy Crime, another travesty. 31 months for a mean tweet that she took down in a few hours. Now compare that to the Labor councillor who said people on the right, we should chop their heads off in a rally with lots of people around, and he got nothing. She deserved 31 months. He certainly deserved 31 months. Look at what the judges give people at sentencing time. How many people were violent in the UK last year and got suspended sentences for knife crime or sexual assault or just other forms of assault? How many of them got suspended sentences? Lucy got 31 months for a mean tweet. Now, I do know she, before somebody pointed out to me in the comments, I know Lucy is out now because with overcrowding, they're doing early release for good behavior. But still, she got 31 months, and so she still has a 31-month sentence. So free speech is under assault. I'm urging the USA to be vigilant. The party's deputy leader, Richard Tice, said this over-the-top terrorist-style reaction by the police to a series of tweets is extraordinary. Be under no illusion. Freedom of speech in Starmer's Britain is in grave danger. Mr. Linehan revealed on his blog on Tuesday how 5 armed officers were waiting for him as he stepped off the plane in Arizona and told him he was under arrest for 3 tweets. He said he was taken to Heathrow police station during his interview, insisted he had been joking when he wrote on X in April, if a trans-identified male is in a female-only space, he's committing a violent, abusive act. Make a scene, call the cops, if all else fell, punch him in the balls. Then, he said, a nurse checked on him and found his blood pressure was over 200, stroke territory, and he was escorted to A&E. He said, I was arrested at an airport like a terrorist, locked in a cell like a criminal, taken to hospital because the stress nearly killed me, and banned from speaking online. In America, this would be just free speech. And I know laws are different in the UK. Tell me in the UK, is this okay? I really would love to know. I'd love some UK viewers to tell me whether this is okay, and I'm just making a mountain out of a molehill here. I made jokes that upset some psychotic cross-dressers. I like this guy. I did like Father Ted, too, to be fair. Graham Norton was pretty good. I kind of like the old drunk guy who never understood what he was saying, the old priest. Mr. Linehan is due to appear at Westminster's Magistrate Court on Thursday, accused of harassing a transgender woman, Sophia Brooks, and damaging her phone, which he denies in a separate case. Oh, I'd like to see how this turns out. I'm sure the harassing part is nothing, but if he did damage her phone, assault and damaging property is not the way. And so he should be held to account if he damaged her phone, but we will see. A spokesman for the Met said on Monday, September 1, at 1 p.m., officers arrested a man at Heathrow Airport as he arrived on an inbound American Airlines flight. The man in his 50s was arrested on suspicion of inciting violence. This is in relation to his posts on X. After being taken into police custody, officers were concerned for his health. He was taken to hospital. His condition is neither life-threatening nor life-changing. He's now being bailed pending further investigation. The force added it is routine for officers policing arrests to carry firearms, policing airports. These were not drawn or used during the arrest. But Met did not respond to questions about why the arrest was deemed necessary. Under strict rules known as PACE Code G, suspects are only meant to be arrested in limited circumstances, including when police need to ascertain their identity, prevent them from harming themselves or others, stop them from destroying evidence, or ensuring they can be interviewed. Okay, so under this PACE Code G, that was an unlawful arrest, but there could be other laws and regulations that are in place. But it appears that this was a wrongful arrest. Mr. Linehan is due to appear in Westminster Magistrates Court, accused of harassing transgender woman Sophie Brooks and damaging her phone in a separate case. Who else has been arrested by the thought police? Lucy Conley, 42, was arrested by police after she tweeted following the Southport attack amid a wave of misinformation that falsely claimed the killer was a migrant who arrived in the UK on a small boat. Stop arresting people for misinformation. If there's misinformation, you need to combat it with better information. Put out your own information. I like the way X does it, where it allows community notes by other X authors who can go on there and dispute it. And so just do it that way. Do not censor it. That's not the right way to do it. It came as riots erupted. The post that she later deleted said, "Mass deportation now, set fire to all the effing hotels full of bastards, maybe, for all I care. And if that makes me racist, so be it." And she got 31 months for this right here. And the context was she did it during the Southport riots, where people were upset that little girls had been killed at a Taylor Swift dance party. And there was a lot of misinformation out there. Completely agree, but we should not be arresting people for misinformation. Conley was convicted of publishing written material that incited racial hatred and handed a prison sentence of 2 years, 7 months. She has since been released. Robert Moss, 56, was arrested by police officers in July after criticizing his fire chief bosses online. I covered his story. He was a firefighter who was in private group, and he was giving advice on, I think it was Facebook, and he criticized his old fire chiefs. He was a retired fireman. They sent the police around and arrested him for that and told him he wasn't allowed to do that. He ended up winning that, but that's crazy that he had to defend himself. Then there's this guy. He was detained at his home by 6 officers from Kent Police, the very same force that he had given 10 years to. He was a police officer, and he was arrested for doing a mean tweet. And again, he was also found not guilty, or charges were dropped or something like that. Here's the family and I've covered all of these stories, so go back and watch them on my other feeds if you want. This story's going on too long, so I'm going to skim through it, but I'll link it so you can watch it. This family were complaining about the promotion of a new headmaster or headmistress at their child's school in a private parents WhatsApp group. Somebody reported them, and then the police were rung, and the police came around and arrested him for doing that. And he had to fight that for months, and then eventually the charges were dropped in this case. Basically, he was just being critical of the promotion process. So again, it's anything the Karens don't like, they can go ahead and the reason I say Karens is it's not just because you offend somebody, it's because you might offend somebody, and it's usually these Karens who are usually middle-aged white women who've got nothing better to do and more money than sense, and they go report you for something because they're offended on somebody else's behalf. Nonsense. Stop the madness. So Karens. So with that, I've been on pretty much of a rant on this one. I agree. The UK is turning into North Korea, 100%. More people are arrested for hurty words right now in the UK than are arrested in Russia. Think about that for a second. And at the same time, crime is out of control. Something is wrong in Britain. You need to fix it. You need to get politicians in there that will actually do the job. And you need to better train your police. And you need to get rid of the Karens. Fire all the Karens from whatever jobs they're in, whether it's the police or if it's the sentencing council that decided that it would be good that white people get longer prison sentences for the same offense than minorities. It goes on and on. And I know what Keir Starmer says. Every time we have this kind of discussion with Keir Starmer, the exact same quote comes out of his mouth. "Oh, we've had free speech in the United Kingdom for a very, very long time, and we're going to have it for a very, very long time." Those exact words come out of his mouth in every interview. It's burned into his brain, but it's a lie. All right, everyone, let me know. I know this one was a little long and rambling. If you like me, like and subscribe. If you don't like me, don't watch me. Hardly anybody does anyway. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. And I really do care. In the UK, am I wrong? Is policing fine? And it's just Americans are just seeing like a skewed version of it, and it's not true. And Is it true? Most Britons are fine with crime. In Britain, most Britons are fine with the economy. Most Britons are fine with arresting comedians for saying we should punch transgender women in the balls. Thanks, everyone. Let me know. Bye.